Hi everyone, it's Rachel here from North Brisbane Psychologists. How are you? I'm here today on my own without Alexis, who's having a bit of a self-care day. But we spoke earlier and we're getting very excited about running our retreat later this month in November on Stradbroke Island. And coming up to the retreat, I know some of you who are watching our live streams on a regular basis are going to be at our retreat on Stradbroke Island, and we will be talking a fair bit about our needs as we do on these live streams as well. And as you may already know, a big part of needs-based communication or non-violent communication, also known as compassionate communication, is really getting to the heart of our issues, which is the fact that we have needs, psychological needs, as well as physical needs, that when they're not met, cause us suffering or distress or dissatisfaction in some way. And knowing what we need is so hard. That's what I want to talk about today. It's so hard, even for me after 16 years of studying needs-based communication. It's really hard to know what I need sometimes. I know I don't feel great. I know I'm restless or anxious or dissatisfied or annoyed or something, but I'm not sure what I need. Sometimes I'm very clear, but other times it's hard to figure it out. So first of all, I want to normalize how it can be hard to know what we feel and what we need. But I also know something else, and that is when I get an approximation or, some sense of what it is that I do need, then I take some of the pressing sense of urgency out of my experience. Because often what I'm aware of is my thoughts, my judgments. They should, he should, she should, shouldn't, I should, I shouldn't. There's some story going on that's full of judgment or criticism. It can be very shaming or it can be very aggressive, and underneath the story in my head are some other feelings, anger, resentment, frustration perhaps, but primary feelings like fear and hurt and disappointment, shame, uncertainty, much more raw, difficult feelings. But underneath those feelings, there's something I'm yearning for, something I'm wanting that I'm not getting. Figuring that out is hard, right? So I have a practice for you today that is about feeling into your needs. So I want to take you through it because I remember when I went to an NVC training many years ago, and the trainer said, we feel our needs. Yes, we feel our feelings, but we feel our needs in us. It's not just an intellectual idea that I need trust, or I need compassion, or I need authenticity, or I need support or acknowledgement or something else. I actually get a felt sense of wanting this quality in my relationships. So, given that it's so important to learn how to get in touch with our needs, which means kind of feel into our needs, let's try something now. And after we've finished this exercise, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, which I can see, I'll be able to see what you thought of this exercise. It's very simple, the exercise I want to offer to you, and it's one that I'll be offering similar to an exercise I'll offer on the retreat coming up and that I've offered in workshops. And I call it simply feeling into your needs. And it's about having an embodied consciousness of needs. So not just the intellect, but our whole being. And the way to do this exercise is I want you to remember a time when you experienced compassion in relationship to someone else. So we're focusing here on a particular need, the need for compassion. We come into this world with a need for compassion, for someone to see us, be with us, feel for us, help us. So remember one time when you felt an experience of compassion in a relationship. And close your eyes if that helps, and connect to this memory as vividly as you can. And as you remember this time when you experienced compassion in a relationship, focus now on the present moment, feelings and bodily sensations as you recall this moment or situation where you experience compassion with someone else. Perhaps they offered it to you, perhaps you offered it to them. And stay with this memory, see where you were, who you were with, what time of day it was, and just allow yourself to relax into the feeling that you experienced when you experienced this compassion, and dwell in this feeling and allow whatever comes up. And I'd love you to share what comes up for you, what it feels like, what it felt like to receive compassion. So as I remember one memory of receiving compassion, for me it felt like warmth, particularly in the upper part of my torso. It felt like warmth, it felt like relaxation, it felt like an expansion, like I could open up. I guess that's part of the relaxation. What is it like for you when you recall an experience of compassion in a relationship? What does it feel like for you? I'd love you to offer some of your reflections in the comments. This is an experience of having a need met or supported. When we think about a time when our need was met, we can really go into that feeling. What did it feel like? And that's a good way of recognizing that our needs being met. So Sarah says it felt like a slowing down. Yes, I relate to that. And a softness, a kind of softening. That's also what it's like for me, Sarah. When I receive compassion, there's a softness and a softening. Thank you for sharing that. I'd love to know what other people experience when they recall having their need for compassion supported in some way, because we want to recognize, this good feeling, that's because one of my needs was being met or supported. And I could equally ask you, recall a time when you really needed compassion and you did not get it. And what did that feel like? So Libby Elizabeth says it felt like being seen. Libby, I'd love to ask you, what does that feel like? Thank you for sharing that. But when you feel like you're being seen by this other person, what's the feeling that you get? Do you feel happy? Do you feel sort of contented? Does it help you to relax? What does that give you? Stephanie says it's odd because I felt like that person will be wanting something from me later. So I would say, Stephanie, that might not be a feeling so much. I hear that as a thought or a perception, like this person will want something. They're giving me compassion now, but later I'll have to give them something. So it's hard for you to trust it. And perhaps that's based on an earlier experience of that happening. So you've got that past in your memory. It makes sense that you would find it difficult now to trust when you have the feeling of being seen and of having compassion offered, sent your way. We've all got the past in our memory somewhere, embodied in some way. Anyway, let me know in the comments, Stephanie, if that's true, if you kind of can see what I'm saying about how that's more of a belief or a thought rather than a feeling. But the feeling is mistrust and maybe a little bit of fear, anxiety. So feeling uneasy, yeah. Uneasy. Okay, so sit with that feeling of being uneasy and see if you can offer compassion to that part of you that feels uneasy. And when you do so, perhaps you become more discerning about whether this compassion is something you can actually take in a little bit more than what you've been doing. Looking at the comments, Libby says being seen feels like feeling content and feeling loved. Yeah, that's something closer to a feeling, because being seen is, to me, is like a need. I have a need to be seen. You have a need to be seen and heard and understood. And then when that happens, you feel contentment. You feel something like love. So let's do one more, because this is a very different need. Compassion is what we call in psychology an attachment need. It's to do with relationships and feeling safe and supported. But this time I would like you to remember a time when you experienced authenticity in a relationship. And bring this memory of authenticity as vividly as you can to your mind. And as you recall experiencing authenticity, perhaps both people in this energy of authenticity, perhaps just the other person is what you remember, or perhaps you just remember being able to be really authentic yourself. Hold this in your mind and focus on the present moment feelings or body sensations that recalls in you. And allow yourself to just open to this feeling and relax into it. And dwell here in this experience of authenticity. Remember this. Allow whatever comes up for you. So my question is, what does it feel like to experience authenticity? The example I think of is that I feel, again, quite relaxed. I feel energized, because there's nothing in me closing down or defending myself. So I feel like I can open up, and for me, I feel energized in my memory of an authentic interaction. I feel curious, I feel open, I feel energized. What else? I feel safe. I guess it's a kind of relaxation. What does it feel like for you to be in an authentic interaction? What is authenticity, even as you recall one memory of it? What does that feel like for you? Is it a little different from compassion? Freedom. That's a great word, Stephanie. Yes, I relate to that as well. Authenticity feels like freedom. Something opens up, doesn't it? Or something sort of drops away and lets go. And you feel free. Yes, free to be more of yourself. Free to give and receive, perhaps. Yeah. Feeling like brightness, feeling warmth in the chest. Thanks, Libby. Yes. Elizabeth said feeling like brightness. Sarah says feel lighter, feel a sense of relief. It feels honest. Yes. That's what authenticity often feels like for me as well when I think of a couple of other times recalling authentic interactions. So well done to those of you who are listening. Just even remembering a time when the need was met and remembering how that felt. This is a good practice. Can drop the mask. Yes, thanks, Stephanie. You do have a sense of being able to just drop any pretense, any tension. You can really open up and relax. Yeah. So with the NVC process of observations and feelings about those observations, our needs and our requests, we can sort of start anywhere sometimes with this process. And in this exercise I've given you today, we start with the needs, not with the observations. We start with, remember a time when your need was met. I could have easily said, remember a time when this need wasn't met. But let's make this bright and a bit sunshiny for a Sunday afternoon. I'm here at my mother's house, so it's a different background to what I normally would have for you, but I decided to come up and see my mum and meet my need for compassion, because she's quite compassionate, which I'm very grateful for. And, when we remember times when our needs were met or not met, we can get really clear on how that feels in our body as well as our mind. But so much of what you've said here is more of a bodily sense, even dropping the mask, the way we talk in metaphors. People say things like dropping the armor, dropping the mask. It's got this real bodily the language is of the body, you know. So often we need to get into an embodied consciousness of our needs because, like this mentor said to me years ago, we feel our needs being met or unmet. We have to feel into, what am I longing for? What am I yearning for? Just the simple question of, what am I looking for? What am I needing here in this situation? And of course, this question is iterative. In a long-term relationship or friendship, or say in a workplace, these questions come up again and again and again. Why am I feeling this way? What am I needing that I'm not getting? What am I yearning for? And almost prioritizing my needs or feeling how strong my needs are. Which one is sort of rising to the surface, even though there's multiple needs inside of me that are playing together at the same time. Sometimes there's a need that's just so strong, and it can take me days, hours, days, months, or even years, depending on the context, to be so clear on what the strongest need is in a situation, so that I'm clear on what action I take next or what I request of myself or someone else. So we can't always rush this process, unfortunately, because it's the quieter voice of our deeper feelings, our intuition, the intelligence of the body, as one of my mentors used to say. So this practice of remembering times when your needs were met or not, and how did that feel, this helps you learn. This helps you remember. And remember is, the word member means of the body. Members of an organization. All the bodies in that organization. So to remember means to come back to the body in Latin. And we need to remember our needs and feelings because we forget them all the time. And we go up into our heads and our conditioning from this culture, and we forget to tune in with our feelings and our needs. So I do need to go in a moment because I'm at my mum's house, as I said, and she is going to serve me some dinner, which is going to meet my need both for food and care and support. So I'll just take another couple of comments. Jaren says, being aware of your feelings is associated with the introverted feeling function in Jungian theory. Thanks, Jaren. That's right. An introverted feeling is in the 8th slot, the lowest position for people with my personality type, INTP. Yes, I know a lot of INTPs, and it doesn't surprise me, Jaren, that you are an INTP. Which is theoretically why it's hard for me to know what I feel. Yes, because it's in that, what's also called the inferior position. Yes, I understand that completely, Jaren. And so my inferior function is introverted sensing, which won't mean much to most people listening, but you might know what that means, Jaren. And anytime we have I've just dropped my lip gloss, what a tragedy, an underdeveloped function in our personality, it just simply means we need to practice. So Jaren, here's a practice for you, remembering times when needs were met or not met, and really feeling into what that was like at an emotional and sensation level. We can get better at tuning in and checking in with ourselves. Sandeed says, lucky you. Yes, I'm very lucky to have my mum. Thank you. Libby says, thanks, Rachel. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. There's a couple more spots, or maybe one more spot left on our retreat coming up later this month. If you're interested in joining myself and Alexis on a 4-day retreat on the beautiful Stradbroke Island, and it really is so beautiful, you can go to northbrisbanepsychologist.com.au to the events page, or onenaturaltherapies.com.au, which is Alexis's website, and go to the events page on hers and find out more, or you can message us on this Facebook page. But that's all for me for now. Just a reminder about feeling into your needs. And thanks, Stephanie. I will enjoy my dinner, and I'll look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday. Okay, bye for now.